industry undeniably suffers from a lack of gender balance amongst hand-on technologists. Even fewer of these technologists are mothers. Sadly, many women believe that you can't return to technical once you become a mum. I was one of them until I took leave to have my first child. I realised I didn't want to give up my career as a tech lead, and so I found a way back to balance a growing career with growing children. Now, 3 children later, I want to share my story so that other technical women can see proof that it is possible to remain technical after having children. Granted, a CTO summit is an unlikely place to find potential mothers. So why am I here? Well, I surveyed other working mothers across various industries about their experience returning to the workforce. Overwhelmingly, whether they found the experience positive or negative was governed largely by how supportive their leaders were. So the reason I think a CTO Summit is a great place to share my message is twofold. One, by hearing a first-hand experience of the challenges that I faced, I'm hoping that you can look within your own organisation to see what changes you could make to support technical women. I also want you to pass on my story to your network to show others not as an example of how to return, but just that proof it is possible. My journey to motherhood actually started when I was a graduate. I always knew that I wanted to be a mum who was present, and so I assumed that I would stop working when the time came to raise my family. Those thoughts and ideas shaped my early career. I approached the start of my career with all the gusto and the energy of youth. If I was only to have a few years in technology in the industry, I wanted them to count. My 5-year plan, which I treated more like a bucket list of things to do before I retire, centred around the goal of becoming a tech lead at Thoughtworks. This let me lean in to any opportunities that would advance me towards this goal and become a driving force behind my early career. But with my bucket list complete, and then some, I was content and satisfied with my career. By the time I decided to start my family, I was happy and prepared to walk away from the industry. However, it was my own mother who, as a result of taking a 15-year break to raise us, who encouraged me and convinced me the importance of continuing to maintain my career. It's through her support and guidance that I decided to return to work part-time, balancing the desires to be a present mum and advancing my career. I really enjoying maternity leave. I am fortunate to work for a company with really great parental leave policies, which keep getting better over time. For example, since my second child was born, Thoughtworks has updated the policy to continue to pay superannuation contributions during any unpaid portion of parental leave. My position as a well-paid professional working for a company which provides 18 weeks leave at full pay gave me the financial security to take as much time off as I wanted. Returning to work on my own terms allowed me to return as a happy and eager employee. I would encourage any employer to look critically at their parental leave policies. Fair Work Australia provides guidance for any employers looking to go beyond just minimum legal obligations and implement best practice policies. Good parental leave policies benefit more than just the mother. It makes good economic sense. Organisations which implement best practice parental leave policies and family-friendly, flexible working arrangements are more likely to have lower staff turnover, resulting in lower recruitment and training costs, a greater ability to attract new employees, and improved employee satisfaction and commitment. A major concern of mine before I had kids was that technology changes so fast. If I spent a long time out of the workforce, the landscape would be completely different when I returned. Even still, I was quite surprised at the magnitude of changes to the tech landscape that happened in a short time, the 12 months that I had spent on leave. For example, when I left, we were using server-side rendering, and with a sprinkle of jQuery. And when I returned 12 months later, everyone was knee deep in the React versus Angular battle. It was a struggle at first to learn and understand the new frameworks. Some of our agile practices like pair programming, small stories helped, as well as following simple online tutorials, Google and Stack Overflow. What I realised, however, was that the principles of good software don't change, and you can withstand the changes in technologies provided you have a solid understanding of the foundations. Even without knowing the new technologies, I was still able to act as a positive programming producer in our team because I could leverage my knowledge of what good looks like in other technologies. Pairing with someone comfortable with the new tools, I was able to describe how to solve a problem using pseudocode, and they could interpret that for the new technology. This let me map the known world in my head with the new world, furthering my knowledge of the new technologies. It also allowed for great discussions when the new contradicted old best practices. These discussions helped the less experienced developers understand first principles and furthered their understanding of foundations. So that was great for a short time break, but what else could be done to help upskill returning mothers, especially those who have been out of the technology for a lot longer? Some companies run return to work programs. MYOB's Developer program is offering paid scholarships to women who are changing careers or looking to re-enter the workforce. They offer a full-time position with full-time support from their software mentors and formal training. Thoughtworks' Vipassy program is a 3-week boot camp on Java and OO programming, helping experienced women developers on a career break to re-enter the world of programming. Whether run as an internship or as a training course or a combination of the two, these programs are offering women opportunities to not only upskill in the latest technologies, but they also offer a platform for women technologists to network, connect with other role models, and become active members of the tech community. In order to balance my desires to be a present mum and continue working in my career, I decided to return to work part-time. Returning to work part-time was scary. No one in my office had done it before. And while my leaders were very supportive of it, it was challenging to prove just how a part-time consultant could best add value in a client-facing role. Whilst I knew returning 2 days a week to a tech lead role wouldn't be possible, it was a long journey to find a role that would be as fulfilling and also suited part-time work. I came back to work after leave with my eldest child to a job sharing arrangement as an iteration manager with another thought worker who needed to reduce her hours due to complications in her pregnancy. We'd worked together previously and had established a great working pattern. Our ways of working were aligned, and this helped with our ability to job share effectively. Despite it not being a technical role, I was appreciative of the opportunity to ease back into the work life as it allowed me to build confidence in myself and gave me the time to settle back into working life, settle my family back into life with me working. However, once I regained my confidence, I soon missed the technical voice which I had once enjoyed within the team. I had an identity crisis watching others solving technical problems from the sidelines, and I longed to take part as I once had. My identity had once been based upon being a strong tech lead and a strong developer, and yet I knew I could not resume my former role. I had to find another way back to get to being technical. My next role, performing a technical assessment for a client's continuous delivery practice, was more technical, and because it was also a solo consulting role, we were able to alter the structure to accommodate the restrictions of my part-time work. Usually, the assessment would take 10 days, carried out over a fortnight. However, for this assessment, we spread the 10 days over a 5-week period, 2 days a week to fit my hours. This pace worked well for my client, as I was only involving their people for short bursts of time. Usually in these sorts of assessments, it's quite difficult to get all the people together in the room for the consolidated fortnight period. It also led to a deeper exploration of the problems discovered, as the client was able to experiment with and execute upon initial recommendations during the course of the assessment. So through this, we discovered that there was a mutual benefits to part-time availability. It was also the solo nature of this role which allowed me to understand part-time restrictions could actually be an advantage. Unlike when I was working in a fast-paced delivery team where the context was continually evolving, I was able to pause activities at the end of the day knowing that the state would not change in my absence. Realising that part-time roles worked better in slower moving landscapes rather than continually evolving ones, I started to identify other opportunities and technical roles which I could perform. Instead of the role of a tech lead in a fast-paced delivery team, I was able to be a solution architect working with the slower moving architecture. Instead of a role of an iteration manager, I could provide a team delivery support separated from the daily running of the team, but familiar enough to identify problems and team smells. I was fortunate that the nature of our business gave me the chance to experiment with different roles and provided a supportive environment so that we can understand and overcome the restrictions of my part-time work. Many mothers wish to return part-time. Understanding how they fit back into their organisation is key to retaining them. It might take more than assuming that they can perform the same role as they did when they were full-time. I would encourage anyone looking to counsel a technologist returning to a part-time role that she should identify what they're good at, start looking for opportunities where they can demonstrate those strengths, even if they need to take a journey of discovery through different roles that they may not have considered before. 6 years ago, it was unimaginable to me how Thoughtworks could work how a thought worker could work part-time. Now in Australia, we have 25 part-time workers, both mothers and fathers, across all roles and at different levels. The more part-time workers that we have, the more role models that we have for other people to see how they might balance family and work. Effectively working 2 days a week, though, is quite hard. People often tell me, lightheartedly, that I have the right balance, that they would love to work only 2 days a week. Confused? I stare back at them blankly. Because for me, I feel like a duck swimming, seemingly calm on the surface, but paddling furiously under the water just to stay afloat. There's a lot of overhead and effort required to maintaining 2 days a week. And indeed, it would be a lot easier for me to either work a full week or stay at home entirely. But I want to live in the both worlds, so I learnt to make it work. It took me the better part of a year, though, to get into the groove of working 2 days a week. The biggest challenge that I faced working part-time was how to connect and be informed and stay relevant when I wasn't physically present for half the week. I underestimated how many decisions and conversations that dramatically alter my work happen in my absence. I found I didn't just have to shift my own perspective and ways of working, but I have to accommodate my colleagues so that my absence doesn't inconvenience them. I tried a few things, like sending out a detailed stand-up report summary at the end of each day and speaking to every single member of the team as my first task each morning to understand what had changed whilst I was away. Both were time-consuming and they did not add value to the rest of the team, so I stopped them. But without it, I felt lost and disconnected. One of the hardest things that I found doing this myself was that I had a lot of empathy concerning how my part-time status would impact others. But that empathy wasn't reciprocated. No one proactively reached out to me to let me know what happened in my absence or to find out how working part-time was working for me. I've since found other ways to feel connected, though. The biggest change I made was sharing my feelings with the team. So in each new team that I'm in, I explain the challenges with feeling disconnected and we establish ways around it. Usually I talk to the project manager or the tech lead of the team to understand what changed in my absence. I also try to get the team to document decisions, reflect the progress on storyboards, and to communicate using online chat tools a little more, which in turn helps the whole team, especially when someone else goes on sick leave. I regularly check chats and emails even on my home days, not non-working days, by the way. If something looks pressing, I will quickly reply a short response, and other than that, just quickly checking emails and chats gives me enough context for my office days. Effective management of part-time work takes effort. When everyone on the team understands the efforts required, the effort is reduced and shared by everyone. An empathetic leader will be proactive in finding out challenges the part-time workers face and help them find ways to overcome it. Over the last few years, I've been presented with opportunities to advance my career. Some of these have been a natural fit within my new restrictions, others have been harder to accommodate. And while I've jumped at the opportunities, some opportunities, laboured on the decision to proceed with others, and worked hard to overcome any logistical challenges presented, I have really appreciated the chance to make that decision myself. My managers have been supportive in offering me these opportunities, even if they couldn't see how I could make them work. They have also, most importantly, been supportive and non-punitive when I've been unable to make them work. In my survey of other working mums, I uncovered a couple of other common themes to people's challenges. One common challenge faced is that mothers who are usually still nursing the babies when they return to work. This means that during the day they need space, time and privacy to either feed their babies or express the milk. And by law, an employer must make reasonable attempts to meet the mother's breastfeeding needs. Good employers set aside a private room, often a meeting room, and definitely not the toilet, and deck them out with privacy blinds and locks. Great employers furnish these with comfortable chairs and a fridge to store the milk. Even with these things in place, things can get awkward. When a lactation room is also a meeting room, it's very uncomfortable to interrupt a meeting to express. Often HR provision these rooms in secrecy without informing, they provision these rooms without informing anyone else. So there's confusion and secrecy surrounding these places when someone suddenly goes inside, closes the curtains and puts a do not disturb sign on the wall. Simple steps can remedy this. Block out times in the day when it will be used as a lactation room. Inform everyone of its purpose and create a supportive environment for breastfeeding employees. The Australian Breastfeeding Association has great information on any employer wanting to create these supportive environments. Another challenge that parents face is that just after they return to work, they need to take sick leave. With their infant immunity systems, children seem to spread germs easily, like I'm facing right now. Families, especially those with children in close contact with other children, seem to continually fall sick. It's frustrating for a parent, just as they've got back into getting the groove of work, to be in a position that they need to take further time off to care for their sick child. It's also frustrating for an employer, as the returner seems unreliable and the tasks that they're working on still get delayed. A level of understanding on both sides is needed. Employers should anticipate this need and encourage ways to mitigate any delays, perhaps by allowing parents to work from home, encourage greater collaboration on tasks, or assigning smaller, more manageable pieces. Employees should prepare by having a plan for sickness, which also includes their partners, collaborating on critical path activities and aiming to leave each day with a clean slate. The needs and desires for returning mothers differed. Some wanted to return early, others wanted to take the time. Some wanted flexible work arrangements, others wanted to work from home. But for those who spoke positively of their story, they always started with, "I had a great supportive manager." These managers listened to their needs, They made the mothers feel welcome back, and they treated these women as individuals. In return, these women were passionate, dedicated, loyal, and eager to continue working. I've spoken about some of the challenges faced, but I wanted to touch briefly on the skills that you learn as a parent that are beneficial to the workplace. You might assume that one's learning halts when they're on maternity leave. However, motherhood can be a unique training ground which can enhance and cultivate important core skills like empathy, resilience, patience, creativity, adaptability, multitasking, working on a lack of sleep, all skills that are directly relevant to your work. An expectant mother does not simply hit pause on her career only to continue upon her return from work from the same place. She has continued to grow as a human. A contributing factor to the national gender pay gap, which is currently at 14%, is a fallacy that returning mother continues from where she left, and so ought to be paid at the same rate she was on before leave. When she sits down with you at the negotiating table, recognise that she has continued to grow and value the skills that she has been able to enhance and cultivate while on leave. If our industry is serious about addressing the lack of gender balance amongst hand-on technologists, we need to be serious about how we encourage and integrate women back into the workforce after having children. We need workplaces that offer flexibility to accommodate caring and other responsibilities, especially in senior roles. We need workplaces that value a mother's role in the office as much as we should be valuing a father's role at home. We need leaders to continue to offer opportunities for a mother to progress in her career as she did previously. But most importantly, we need storytellers, bards, rhapsodes, who can carry the stories of the mothers who have returned to tech and share them so that others can see not how to return to tech, but that it can be done. Will you be that rhapsode?